Hello there mates, Mooshi here and witness the birth of a series called Mooshviewcus. So Mooshviewcus is exactly what you might think it is. It is a series where I first do a review and then discuss what I do afterwards. So if you're looking, maybe you're interested in the game that I was playing, you can do the review part and then you don't want any spoilers, you skip the discussion part. Or if you want to do the discussion part, then you're free to just keep watching to the end of the video. This is the video where I review and discuss and you watch. But anyway, today we're going to be doing Dishonored, which I've been meaning to do this for a while, so I mean not a while, I mean it's only been like maybe a week and a half since I finished it, but I have a list so I won't get lost, and the review is just going to be like a pretty basic checklist of things that you might be interested in. Like for example, what type of audience would I recommend for Dishonored? So Dishonored was a pretty, I would say it could be for a pretty casual gamer, but because it does give you, you don't have to do like the sneaky option. Because if you were going to do the sneaky option, that might be a bit more of like, maybe not for the casual gamer, but if you would just want to kill things, that might be a bit more for the casual game. It all depends on preference. If you like a bit of a challenge in your casual game style, then I would recommend that you go for the sneaky. And if you don't, slash, hack, slash, and blood and gore. And for the graphics are pretty good. This was a bit of an older title, which you have to keep in mind. I'm not sure of the exact year that it came out, but I do know that this is like pretty early 2000s, I would say. That sounds about right. I don't know the exact year, but if I can, I'll put it somewhere, somewhere here. But the difficulty of the game, like I said, the difficulty of the game really depended on how much of a challenge you wanted to give yourself. If you wanted to do the stealth option, you could, that would make it a little harder, I feel. Or if you want to just hack and slash, the hack and slash can be pretty hard too because you had a lot of enemies to go through and just kill at will. And so, it sounds like the easier option, and honestly, it probably is. In some cases, like when you had to get to Sokolov and you had to go up over the roof, that was much easier than going through his house and like forcing him to, forcing all of the guards there, or killing them, brute forcing your way into it. Just going onto the roof and going in that way was so much easier than doing all of that. So again, it just depends on the angle of the situation. There are some instances where brute forcing definitely would have been much easier, but overall, I do think it would be a bit easier if you just did the brute force option instead. Game time is what I had next, and this took me, and Steam can confirm it, 20 hours to beat it. But this is considering the fact that I was also doing a sneaky playthrough. I think if you were to do a hack and slash, it probably would take so long. Now, if you're gonna complete the game, like get all of the Steam achievements, get the different endings, that might take you a bit longer. A lot longer, in fact. And the story was pretty good. I really enjoyed the story. I definitely feel like it is worth it to get both endings if you like want to go through the time and do that, because like if the stealth ending was that satisfying, I imagine that the other ending was like, ooh, that's kind of dark and twisted. That's how I think it would be. But I didn't do it. I might do it on my personal time, but that's not part of the review. And last thing I have for the review is bugs. I can say with great confidence that I encountered 0 bugs during the game. So I think the game is pretty bug free. It is made by Bethesda and they do pretty good games. So I'm not really surprised I didn't run into any bugs there. And with that part being out of the way, sorry, that actually doesn't really help you do much with deciding whether you want to buy it or not. But oops, I need to do that part better. But anyway, the thing I want to talk about in the discussion was just like the setting and the time. I loved how they had it set up. Like even before I knew that there was like some type of plague that was going around, like I looked around and I was like, this definitely has like a Londony type feel to it. And that's also just me coming from seeing London in pictures. I haven't actually seen London in person or explored it, but if I had to envision, like, the plague came about in Europe, and that was the setting that they had going on. I don't know why I'm envisioning like London as being like the plague center. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I need to refresh on my history, but that was just the feel that I got from it. So they perfectly nailed it, and yeah, it was pretty much exactly what I expected. It was pretty gross. There was like rats everywhere and trash, and there were like people scavenging, and the military had a bit of an oppressive feeling. Although in that sense, they were a lot more high tech than I think the plague got like back in the day were. But yeah, that was the setting and the time were perfect. Even if the military was packing a bit more than usual. Then I have like what my favorite location was like within the game, and I have to say the place where the three sisters were, and I can remember their name when I'm not trying to remember their name, but when I'm trying to remember their name, I can't remember it. But the three sisters, they were their setup was my favorite, and their setup was kind of the hardest for me to get through. That was the only one where I could not go through it and like not have to beeline it out of that like out of there to not get hurt. I love the way the party was set up. I love how you had to like mingle with everyone, how you had to sneak your way in, and you had to like I owned that upstairs part. Like maybe like towards the end that went horribly bad, but that upstairs part was beautiful. And I got both of the paintings and that location, and it just really that was my favorite of all the locations because of that. If I have to pick a second favorite, I think I'll just have to go with the last level. Not to be cliche or anything, but that last level was really awesome. Even if it was ridiculous, some of the things that they had you do to get towards the end of it. Like the fact that some of the guards would respawn. Well, they wouldn't respawn, but they get reinforcements, which was really not cool. But yeah, that was something that I liked the fact that you go up there and then that last scene. Oh, that's like burned into my mind. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So in this sort of game, I think that the most interesting thing really has to do with the characters and how they interact with each other and what role they play. So really, I guess you should always start with the main character, and that's Corvo. But Corvo is kind of a silent. Well, no, he is a silent character in this game. The only thing that gives Corvo interest is really what you decide to do with him. You make Corvo the guy that willingly kills everyone because he's told to and he's out getting revenge, or maybe not even revenge. Maybe he's just trying to make a better future for Emily. It doesn't have to be revenge because technically there's only two guys that Corvo's really pissed off at. I would imagine if I was Corvo, and that's Hiram, because he kind of instigated the whole thing, and Duad because he killed the Empress. Everyone else is just he got told to do it. Or you could make Corvo a sentient assassin of sorts and just have him not kill anybody, but just move them out of the picture so that they can't get in the way anymore. So Corvo is exactly like who you want him to be, depends on you. But that doesn't exactly mean that Corvo's likable because you do that. In fact, if you really want it, you don't have to pick either extremes. You could choose to kill some guys and then not kill the other guys. I don't know what kind of ramifications that will have on your story, but I imagine that gives you some kind of wishy-washy ending. Usually when you do stuff like that, that's typically what you get. But that is, like I said, doesn't make him likable, and it doesn't make him hateable. And that's a weird thing about silent characters. They're not easy to love, but you have no reason to hate them. They're just kind of just there. And that's kind of how I feel about Corvo. He's really just he's there, and Corvo's like morals and personality really just stems from what you decide to do with him. So, take it or leave it, I guess. And you have to talk about the Empress because the Empress is kind of where this whole thing. Well, I mean, there are about two more things that got started before the Empress, but she was like the third catalyst, I should say. And you really don't get to know too much about the Empress before she gets axed. You can tell that Corvo really respects her. And at some points, I even got the feeling that maybe Corvo and the Empress had some type of relationship going on just because of how close they were. But you never really get that confirmed. The Dishonored never really confirms it, but you just get that feeling like, are you really the Lord Protector, or are you also the Lord Lover? But like I said, they never confirm it, and it's just speculation on my part. But I could tell that Corvo really cared about her, even though the game doesn't really give you enough time to get attached to her for you to care about her. It does kind of suck to see her get axed in the beginning because you can tell that they have that deep relationship with each other. And the same goes for Emily, but luckily for Emily, she stays around long enough for you to actually get the type of connection with her. And you can also tell that Corvo really loves Emily from the beginning, and you can see that love reciprocated throughout the rest of the game. Like, he goes through extreme lengths to save Emily from Hiram when she gets kidnapped by him. He pretty much doing this to ensure that she gets the throne as she rightly deserves it and to have a good life for her. And when she gets kidnapped, well, yeah, basically when she gets kidnapped at the end of the game, you also see Corvo like doing whatever he needs to do to go get Emily back. I don't know, for me that kind of fostered a sense of protection that I had to protect Emily, because if there's anything that you don't decide for Corvo, which is very few and in between, is the fact that he really loves Emily. So that's just something that you just kind of pick up. I feel, at least that's how it was for me. I felt like I had to protect Emily. I really liked Emily's character, and I heard that in Dishonored 2 she becomes an assassin too, which is kind of interesting because she's the Empress when she get towards the end of the game. Like, that's what she becomes. Interesting to see how an Empress works as an assassin. But moving on to the next character that I have written down here, Pendleton, Martin, and Havelock. Ooh wee. Really, these characters I feel almost have two different personalities from the start of the game and the beginning of the game. Let's split them up and do the beginning first. So the beginning, Pendleton, Martin, and Havelock. So the way we run into Martin is that he is being captured by the I forget what they're called, the guards that work for Hiram now, and I don't know, I think they called him for treason or something like that. It sounds right. What else would they capture him for? But they had him locked up there, and what they were, I guess they were going to kill him. That's what it sounded like to me. Honestly, I don't quite remember what they said they're going to do with him. And you rescued him because that was your mission from Havelock, who busted you out of prison. So you save Havelock. Pendleton was just always there. I guess he was the rich guy in the parliament for them. Make sure they get those good votes. And at the beginning of the game, they were really just, we're doing this for the Empress. We want to make sure that Emily has a good spot on the throne. We know that Hiram did something to the Empress. He's taking Emily hostage to try to take power. We want the rightful people to be on the throne. They weren't singing that tune when it got to the end of the game. As you know, once you get to the end of the game, they start getting a little power hungry. But apparently, from the words of Lydia, they were, or was it Callista? It might have been Callista. They're power hungry throughout the entire game. They were just sending you on so many errands that you didn't have time to like see them escalate to that point. And so really, well, I think that just like the closer they got, the more apparent it became. And from the sounds of it, Martin was the ringleader. He wanted to be the new Lord Regent, and he wanted to take power. So I think Martin instigated it. Havelock and Pendleton just followed along. That's what it sounded like to me. We can't forget that scene at the end of the game when Havelock asked Martin and Pendleton, because I honestly don't know. He seemed a little crazy to me. I guess he knew what they were doing were wrong, and I think he felt like he knew that he wasn't going to be able to talk them out of it. So what he decided to do was just to get rid of them. And maybe that was the only option to like stop them from doing what they were doing. I'd have to agree. I don't think Martin would have changed his mind. I don't think any form of talking would have gotten him to stop. If anything, it probably would have gotten Havelock killed for him to even suggest that to Martin. Pendleton, uh, Pendleton's a hard cookie. He's a really wishy-washy character to me. The only thing that he ever seems to do really talk about like how influential he is, and you're very aware that Pendleton's rich because not because Pendleton himself so much boasted, but just in his manner and his air and how his butler keeps going on about how important Pendleton is, and he acts with an air of importance, but he doesn't really have any values that he follows. Martin, on the other hand, you can tell immediately he's very militaristic, very strict, very like wants things to be a certain way, and that certain way is, of course, his way. And I Havelock is a hard one for me because I felt like from the stories he was telling Emily about how he was like a general on a ship and how they hunted pirates. He seemed like a really honorable dude, which is again why I think in the end he realized that this isn't right. And the only thing that I can do to stop this is to kill them. But at that point, he had already co-conspired with this entire thing, and as he said, he rightfully belonged in jail, which is what we ended up doing with him. So Callista and I forget there's this I don't think her name's Lydia because I think Lydia got killed by Martin when he went on that whole power tirade. But Callista was a maid that I felt like was worth mentioning because she really loved Emily. She like taught her. She wanted to be involved in Emily's life. And when she brought it up to Martin, Martin's like, "Well, what do you think we can't provide like teacher for her?" And she was like, "Well, no, but she knows me," and he just kind of dismissed her. So from getting from that angle, you can already tell Callista really liked Emily. And remember, at the beginning of the game, Callista asked you to save her uncle, whose name that I don't remember, but he was an admiral. I don't even think they gave his name. I think they just called him Admiral Kernrow. I think is how they pronounce their last name. And you had to protect him because he was about to get killed, I think, for still supporting the queen or the empress. I forget exactly why they were going to kill him, but it was our job to protect him, and so we did. And Havelock, actually, not Havelock, Martin decided not to kill Callista that whole tirade because he said he owed her uncle a favor. So it makes me wonder, if you didn't save her uncle, would he have not reciprocated that favor? Because not much the point in returning a favor to a dead man. I mean, unless of course you're trying to be honorable, but let's be real here. How honorable do you really think Martin's trying to be? He did he did literally kill everyone that wasn't involved in his plan, who weren't influential enough to be involved in his plan, and he did try to get Corvo out of the picture. I mean, you can't accredit that to all three of them, but Martin really just seemed like the ringleader in all of that. So, would Callista have survived if you didn't save the uncle? That's a good question, and one that I would have to replay the game to find out. I'm pretty sure one of you guys know the answer, so if you do, drop it in the comments below. But the other maid, I don't remember her name, but she was the one who gives you a key to her apartment. So, like, if you ever need to hide out there, you can hide out there because she knows that one day this is gonna all go to shit. She's not gonna be there when that happens. And Lord she was right. But it wasn't because she didn't like it not die because she knew it was coming. It seemed to me that they just didn't find her worth the time to kill because when they were like calling them there, I don't know if it was Martin or Pendleton or who told her, but they were just like, you're not getting a severance check or something like that, which basically meant like we're not gonna kill you. So I don't know why they would have decided not to kill her. other than it just that she just wasn't important to them. That I was curious about, but I couldn't make heads or tail out of it. All I know is that I'm glad she was there because I did like her. She was a bit of a quirky maid. She didn't dress in a maid's uniform. She had like her like normal get up on, and she was always like messing up. And like she was trying to clean stuff, and then it was like the guy that was Pendleton's butler was like, "We're going to be hosting the future empress, and you can't even wash a cup or something like that." I don't exactly remember, but I liked her for her quirkiness and stuff like that. But the other one I was going to talk about is obviously Samuel. So Samuel is there with you the entire game, basically. He's there for to bust you out. He's there to ferry you to all of your missions, and even when they tell Samuel to ask you, Samuel only gives you half of it and then carries you away. And it's just like, I know you're gonna be okay, and I know that you'll come back and you'll fix whatever they're gonna do. He said, and even before that happened, he was like, I'm just gonna get out of here because I don't have a good feeling about this. And when Samuel said that, I mean, I already had like my suspicions. When I finished the mission, I was like, man, this doesn't feel right. There's just something like odd that's going on here. And when Samuel said what he said, that just pretty much just doubled down like on my suspicions, because I know Samuel is a really trustworthy character from the get. He always has Corvo's back, and so I know that if Samuel's worried, you should be worried too, because he would not be worried if there wasn't a reason for him to be. And in fact, if they had asked Samuel to poison Corvo, maybe he knew about these plans all along. But then again, that would bring up the question, why wouldn't he tell Corvo? Because what I suspect happened is that Samuel and Corvo got back. Corvo goes to congratulate whoever, and someone like says to Samuel, hey, we poisoned, and we need you to poison Corvo. Here's the stuff that you need to do it with. Make it quick, and go dump his body. I think that's what happened to Samuel. And Samuel, didn't want to kill Corvo, but he knew instantly, oh, these guys, they're about to go crazy. I can't just not do it. He only does half, which was a smart move. Samuel's a quick thinker. And when Samuel says goodbye at the end, that was sad, because he was such a good character, and he's always there for. It was sad to see him go, and it's really hard to say why Samuel is a good character, because he doesn't really talk much about himself. I mean, there are instances where he describes some of the things that he's done. He gives you his opinions on how you should approach this and all the warnings and stuff. But I don't know what made Samuel such a heart-touching character for me, because for a backstory, you don't really get much for Samuel. And moving on to Pyro and Sokolov. So the reason I have these two together is because apparently these are the two geniuses of the game. Sokolov was the royal, I don't know, painter or something. For royal physician, I think is what Sokolov was before everything went to shit. And then you have Pyro, he was apparently a dropout, but not because he's not smart. It was something that he did that got him kicked out. But it sounded like Sokolov was his teacher, and that Sokolov for some reason kicked him out. But I don't remember the story. I think it was something like that. But the reason I put them side by side is because they are the game's two geniuses, and they both had different types of elixirs. There was Pyro's spiritual elixir, which rejuvenated Corvo's magic, and there was Sokolov's health elixir, which rejuvenated Corvo's health. But throughout the entire game, I never really see anyone with Pyro's remedy. I only see them with Sokolov's elixir, which I guess makes sense because Pyro wasn't. He is a disgrace, and he got kicked out. And towards the end of the game, when Sokolov and Pyro forced to work together, you even hear Sokolov say, or no, I think Pyro says, "I hope Sokolov can witness my genius now and see he was wrong for what he did to me," or something like that. basically you get the feeling that they were like intertwined at some time in their past and something went kind of awry with them. But speaking of them individually, Pedro was a bit of a weird character. And I'm completely judging him off of the fact that you catch him, I think, spying on Callista through the porthole, and he's like, "Please don't kill me." And you're just like, "Don't do it." Well, you could be like, "Not my business," but I was like, "Don't do that here, man. Don't be a creep." And which kind of gives you an impression that maybe he's a bit of a social reject, because you do see him flirting with Callista at first, and Callista's like, "Nah, bruh, not interested." And then Pedro's just like, "Oh, okay. Thanks for considering. I'm just gonna melt into the floor now." That's I mean, you get that kind of sense from Pedro. Like he's really just not socially great, which is okay because I myself am not the greatest talker of social events. But then I don't know if you like. I can't tell if you like really like Calista. Maybe he was just like a really horny dude, but didn't know how to approach the women. So spying on him was his only option. Really, at the end of the day, he came off as kind of a creepy sleazeball that's really smart and socially dysfunctional. That was kind of the feel I got from Pedro. Even towards the end, I mean, it might just be because of that one scene. If that scene hadn't been there, it would have just been like, "Oh, you're just a nerdy geek who realized tinkering and you're really smart, and for some reason you got kicked out of your school that you're going to, philosopher school, I think it was called." That's the impression I would have got if it wasn't for that scene. Sokolov, on the other hand, seems a bit narcissistic. Like everything revolves around Sokolov. Sokolov's the best, he's the smartest, and it's okay for him to torture people because he was working for secure, and once he got the cure, everything would be better. And I don't know, maybe because that's the feeling I got. He also, I remember Pedro and him talking about like, "Why did you try this?" And Pedro's like, "Oh, because I couldn't get test subjects." Almost suggesting that Pedro would have done the same thing, but he didn't have the money financially. So this might not even have to do with the fact that Sokolov was just so into himself that he didn't care about others. It might just be him just being like not being empathetic towards other people at all. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's narcissistic. It just means that he's an asshole. But they were pretty great as a pair towards the end, and I was really glad to say them because even though they both had that weird quirks, they did end up creating a cure which cured the plague, which is good. So it might be weird, but they did help people in the end. Moving on to Hiram. So this guy, if there was an definite asshole in the game, it would definitely be Hiram Burroughs. And that is because you learn that he brought the plague to the city because he wanted to create a like a hero thing. Like he was gonna swoop in and save the day. And then everybody would think he was so great that they just want him to take over and rule. But when you use a contagious disease to try to make you look like a hero, it doesn't really work out because you know why? If you don't create a cure fast enough, everybody's gonna get sick. And I don't even know, like, why would you? Okay, you spread a disease, you're gonna swoop in and save the day. Cool. How are you gonna do that if you don't have a cure in the first place? If I would have like some type of plan like that, I would spread the disease, make sure I had a cure, and then I would, come out the victor and everybody would love me. I mean, if you're gonna be corrupt, you should at least be corrupt right. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't get dragged through the streets. But I mean, if there was one guy I could have killed, definitely would have been him. I was doing a pacifist run through. Yeah, sure. That works. I was in a pacifist run through, so couldn't really do that. But it was satisfying to hear him get taken away at the end there. You guy, what are you doing? I don't know what's going how did that get on the... He was more concerned, like, how did that get out? Rather than, oh, holy shit, they found me out. But, you know, whatever. He was a douchebag. I was glad to take him down. But I would not mind running a sword through him. And I didn't write this one down. I don't know why I didn't. But Duad. So Duad is the assassin that killed the Empress, which you find out as you're fighting him. It's like, oh, you know I did it. And he wants this grand duel. And at first I tried to run away from him because I was on a pacifist run, but then he was like egging me on, so I finally went back and fought him. And then you actually did get to choose whether or not you wanted to kill him. And one of the reasons that even though like he was egging me on and I did go back to fight him, without knowing whether they were gonna let me spare him, is because if you just like sat there listening to him talk at the beginning of the game, or the beginning of the match, you hear him say like he's so sad that the Empress, like he not sad, but he regrets taking the order to kill the Empress for Hiram, and that if he could go back and do it all over again, he would tell him no. And even though he did kill the Empress and he still did his his contract, he was regretful about it. And even if I wasn't doing a pacifist run after being instigated to come back and fight him, and he chooses to ask you for to kill him or to show mercy, and how he admires how you decided, if you'd done a stealthy path, of course. I imagine if you hadn't, of course you have some different lines for you, but for me, he was like, he admires that even though those guys asked you to, the guys who betrayed you, Havelock, Pennant, and Martin, even though they asked you to kill people for them to secure them power, you decided to spare those people, but still move them out of the way to accomplish their goals. And he respected that, and he was like, I wish that I could have gone back and done things the way that you did. And he also mentioned how the outsider made him feel like he was so powerful and how he was so unique, and how all of that talk just buffed him up. And he said he just wanted to get away and live a normal life, but he still gives that decision to you, even though that's what he wants. And for that, I feel like get some compassion. One assassin, one passive assassin, to maybe an assassin that's looking to become a passive assassin. But yeah, Duat was definitely, that boss battle though it was pretty, I mean, it was okay. The fighting in that game, it doesn't feel very rewarding to me, especially when you're fighting against a guy that can slow down time, and you're like, you want to do all this cool, that's maybe me just coming, I like third person, and so in first person it's just kind of if that battle would have been in third person, I would have loved it so much more. But that's just a bias on my part. I realized it as I was saying it, and I put the sisters here, but there's not really much to note about them. I did like how the one sister sent you the letter about thanking you for sparing her sister, and she hopes that your paths never cross again, which I felt was pretty cool, because up until that point you pretty much just seen how everybody was just out to get power, and that was pretty much what everybody was concerned about. It didn't matter whether it was related, like the Pendletons and Otto Granted, his brothers were trash. They were actual trash. But the sisters, they're like, thank you for not killing her. Here's some compensance for that, and I hope that we never cross paths again. And that was it. And I thought that was like a good touch, and I wasn't expecting that. Also, wasn't expecting how did they know where? They did say they went through a maid network, which I thought was pretty cool. You have a network of maids that are all just intertwined with each other. But still, to track Corvo down, it's pretty impressive, maid network or not. Or I guess help network, because they weren't all maids, they were maids and butlers. And that brings us to all of the characters that I thought were interesting enough to talk about really, the most interesting to me were Corvo, the Empress, Emily, Havelock, Pendleton, Martin, and Hiram. Duod is a pretty interesting character, and it's interesting how you kind of caught him at a conflict of stages within his life. Like, you know, he really like he's transitioning from this point where he was like fully into the outsider, fully into assassinating people, to I don't know, it was just Coral's action. It seemed like killing the Empress really just did him in. And afterwards, he's kind of like, I just want to live a normal life. I don't really want to do what the outsider says anymore, or I don't really want to listen to the outsider anymore. I just want to, you know, like settle down, move out of the city, start over. So that was an interesting transition to see from him, especially since he made you work your ass off to get there. They just can never be upfront. Why? But yeah, like I said, but and I'll end the video with something that I wrote down that I thought was interesting was Havelock's last line when he said, "Go ahead, kill me or take me to the Coleridge prison. Make your choice. She'll be watching." When she's referring to Emily, and at that point, this is at the end of the game, so it made me wonder: is he saying that because it's just like a way of the game telling you that every decision that you've made is going to be reviewed in Emily's eyes, because the way the game ends is based on your actions, but it also ends based on like what you did and how that made Emily see you, because you were like so revered and so loved not only by the people but also by Emily, that she buried you next to her mother when Corvo dies. And that makes you think, well, if I had killed all of the other guys, what would her opinion of me have been then? And it wasn't until he said that line that I was thinking, well, I mean, I wasn't very concerned because I know I hadn't like murdered everybody, killed people, but well, I mean, there was Granny Rags, but that woman was crazy. I couldn't just leave Slackshaw there to get axed. But you know, it does prompt the holy crap. What would Emily think of my decisions? If she's reflecting on this decision, what about my other decisions? You made some questionable decisions that might have been oh, like a moment when Havelock said that, or it might have completely gone over your head. I honestly, I mean, I thought about it. Like, why would he say that? Because technically, Emily's in the room. I guess you could hear a gunshot, but I mean, it wouldn't be the first gunshot she heard, especially since Havelock or well, Martin axed off the maids and the butlers with it in the house while Emily was still there. But well, you know how it goes. But that has been Mooshviewcus. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to getting more into the series, and hopefully I plan on getting some new editing software soon, so hopefully I can get some more sparkle in my video. Sorry, that took me a moment. But if you guys enjoyed the video, comment, subscribe, like, and share the video. Get the word about Mooshi Gamer. Thank you guys so much for watching, and Mooshi Gamer signing out.